Welcome to Build Up, the European Commission's portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Directly stemming from the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, Build Up is the meeting place for everyone involved in making the European building and construction sector more energy efficient. Every month we focus on a topic that is key to making Europe's buildings as energy efficient as possible. Exploring that, you can find the latest content such as expert talks, webinars, case studies and more. From architects and engineers to academics and policy makers, we've got you covered. Build Up brings together thousands of registered members to reap the benefit of Europe's collective intelligence on all aspects of energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. The Build Up portal benefits from the expertise of our ambassadors. Drawn from industry and academia, the ambassadors bridge the gap between EU and national level and help shape our editorial content. Want to promote your work? Build Up disseminates your research, projects and events through a variety of channels. Become a member to exchange knowledge with your peers. You can disseminate tools and resources, share good practices, and consult open source publications. Join the discussion on social media and become part of the Build Up community, or subscribe to our newsletter to receive the latest news. However you participate, the Build Up portal is here to inspire, inform and connect. Build Up, the European portal for energy efficiency and renewable energy in buildings. Join the community for opportunities and updates.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jordi Gonzalez, and I'm a member of the Build Up editorial team. It is a pleasure for us at Build Up and our colleagues at CircularB to welcome you to today's session called Stakeholder Webinar Series, Investor, Developers, and Insurance Providers. This event is the third of a series that us at Build Up are organizing with CircularB, and we've been doing so since April. And today's webinar is going to be split into three main parts, and it will shed light on successful projects and challenges that they face while implementing circular principles in the construction sector. But before we begin, I would like to encourage you, the audience, to send us your questions that you may have or that you may bring up during the session and our speakers' presentations. You have to do so by using the option questions that you have here in GoToWebinar. You just add there the question, and at the end of this session we will have a small time to do so. Let's go to the agenda, and we'll see that we have three main presentations. The first one is by Francisco Antunes, and he's going to talk about MOMI Housing Cooperative. Then we will have Cristina de Melo Maya, and she will speak about sustainable practices in construction and real estate development. And finally, Dominic Campanella will join us to talk about bridging the gap between new and reclaimed construction materials. And as I said, at the end of the session, we will have little time, the few minutes remaining, to have a Q&A session with the three speakers. So feel free to include your questions on the question box. And now, without further ado, I would like to bring up Francisco Rocha Antunes, our first speaker. So Francisco, are you there?
As I was saying, I'm a property developer based in Porto, Portugal. I have a 30 years experience in property developing all kinds, and we start doing housing cooperatives as a professional development business for the last 2.5 years in Porto. What I'm bringing to you is our vision as developers, property developers, about the connection between the EU taxonomy, which will be the rules that will guide us for the next 20 years, 30 years in real estate development in Europe, and nature-based solutions to try to create sustainable real estate development. So basically what we are going to see today, let's see if now things are moving. Yes. I will give you a brief introduction to the EU taxonomy concerning real estate development. Overview of nature-based solutions, then the intersection between taxonomy and nature-based solutions. What are the benefits of nature-based solutions in real estate? What is the EU taxonomy criteria for sustainable real estate? and some case studies to highlight what we are doing and the trends that we see in all over Europe that we are keep implementing in Portugal. Challenges and barriers, policy and regulation support, and future trends. I'll try to keep this simple, but all the questions that you have, please register the question for our discussion at the end of the presentations. So basically, the introduction to EU taxonomy. European Union has defined the criteria to what is acceptable to be environmental sustainable activities. So there is no more freedom to each one of us decided what is green or not. The European Union organized a taxonomy that clearly says what is acceptable to be sustainable activities. The idea is to create the base work, the framework for investment in sustainable real estate, and make sure that all the sustainable real estate is really aligned with climate and environmental objectives. So taxonomy covers a wide range of sectors, everything from energy to transportation. We are going, of course, focus what is related to real estate development in this presentation. So adoption of Euro taxonomy is going to influence business and markets in Europe for the next 20 years. We don't have any doubt of that. And the implementation is starting slowly, but will become very effective in 4 to 5 years. And 4 or 5 years in real estate development is the next level of buildings that we are going to do. So an overview of nature-based solutions. Basically, nature-based solutions are actions that try to restore nature, a natural process. The idea is to provide benefits for both the environment and the society, and they have to be integral to sustainable real estate because they offer solutions that reduce the carbon footprint, enhance biodiversity, and improve quality of life. So very typical examples of nature-based solutions are green roofs, permeable surface, urban forests, and try to maintain and create conditions for a more energy efficiency, rainwater management, and air quality. So when we incorporate nature-based solutions, real estate developers create a healthier and more sustainable building, not just increasing property value, but promoting long-term environmental sustainability. So let's see how these two things related together. The EU taxonomy from one side, the nature-based solutions on the other. Basically, the criteria for EU taxonomy specifically requires some nature-based solutions to qualify as sustainable. Alignment insurance nature-based solutions meet standardized green criteria, and guidelines help developers to implement those nature-based solutions effectively. On the other side, nature-based solutions in real estate refer to green infrastructure and practices that mimic natural process. So the idea is to promote biodiversity, climate resilience, and community well-being. So nature-based solutions integrate project sustainability and long-term value. And that's the benefits that we can see in nature-based solutions in real estate. Basically are environmental benefits, social benefits, and economic benefits. In the environmental benefits, they include biodiversity, reduce urban heat island effect, and improve air quality. On social, it encompasses community engagement, health and well-being promotion, and of course, aesthetic enhancement of real estate projects. Economic, it features cost saving in maintenance, increased property value, and long-term sustainability. What are the criteria that EU taxonomy apply to sustainable real estate? First is the energy efficiency, then the biodiversity conservation, third, climate change mitigation, water management, circular economy, and social responsibility and inclusion. Criteria using renewable energies and implementing energy savings clearly is the most known and obvious one, but biodiversity and integration of green spaces is becoming very important. And by the way, we have yesterday a very good news when the European Union has adopted nature restoration law, and it's a big change for the environment and for real estate, sustainable real estate. Then you have reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, use of low carbon materials and climate resilient design, the efficient water use, the circular economy promoting reuse and recycling, reducing waste and using sustainable materials, and including benefits for local communities and promote inclusivity. And of course, make sure we follow ethical standards. But I think the combination of these 6 factors and 6 criteria for sustainable real estate give us the framework for guidelines that we have to implement in any new development project we are starting now. So basically we have the green, the brown and the blue strategies to implement. That means in case studies we can explore, give you some real examples of things that we have been seeing. Some of them we have already tried to implement, not all, to be completely transparent, but we are trying to get certificates that allow us to use all these materials that we are going to show to you. So one of the things is we are going to explore green roofs. We're already doing that in Porto. Several projects already we have implemented green roofs, and then try to incorporate natural landscaping and water management. And then the big focus in our company in the moment is the innovative use of recycled materials and new construction materials. Let's talk about a little bit something which is not very used to be in the property development industry, which is bio-based materials. And we are going to speak about these bio-based materials that slowly but surely we are going to increase the use and to introduce biocarbon footprint in our buildings. So these materials, the main challenges I was mentioned before is to have the certification level that we can implement this with a more wider scale. But I'm sure that everybody understands that lots of effort has been doing it right now. Make sure that these new materials have the certification that is required and need for us to generalize and intensify the use of those materials. The first and most important and most known is cross-laminated timber. Cross-laminated timber is engineering wood product that is being widely used for structural components of the buildings, and this is a very big change in real estate development recently, and we are seeing pop up new CLT factories all over Europe. Lots of countries now have in the first factories to create this structural and construction material locally to avoid, of course, large carbon footprints on transportation. And this is one of the most promising materials. One of the most innovative materials is coming from old age, but with the new techniques to use is straw. Straw panels and straw isolation panels for facades are seeing lots of new uses and new applications, and they have very, very, very good behavior on the carbon footprint they capture. So it's a very promising biomaterial. The other one, which is very interesting, is mycelium. Mycelium is an amazing natural material that with the proper technology can create similar products that we have seen until today with all polymer plastics, which is petrol based, and we can replace these petrol based polymers by mycelium with lots of advantage and becoming very much more it's a natural material on the opposite to the other. So hemp is already being incorporated in a lot of construction isolation materials, and in Portugal we already have at least 2 factories organizing and providing for construction. So it's something that is already being incorporated in construction. And again, the issue is the certification side, which is very limited in the moment, but we hope to increase this very fast so it can become more used. The other important part of these nature-based solutions is to try to complement and implement natural and source of energy. It's a very widespread photovoltaic use of panels already. It's especially in Spain and Portugal, we have a very successful sustainable energy strategy at the national level. The solar photovoltaic has a limitation by nature, which is the solar hours. So we are analyzing and very intensively studying the possibility to increase that with wind turbines, urban wind turbines of a new generation, to make sure that we complement the solar that we have. And another thing that is very important, and I'm showing an example of a project that we have done in Porto, which is the use of green roofs with, in this case, with olive trees on the roof garden. It's a very successful square in Porto, downtown Porto, and I am very pleased to say that the 50 olive trees that have been put in there 12 years ago are in very good shape, and they continue to provide a very qualified space, nature space in the middle of the city. So another thing which is very important is a strategy to water a natural landscape. Especially important considering extreme climate events that we are going to face in Portugal more and more, is the water strategy for the cities and for each of the plots of the developments that we are going to do. We have to improve the capacity of the soil to make sure that the infiltration of the water to the subsoil can happen as a regular situation. So when you have lots of rain or additional rain, you can make sure that the water can go to the subsoil as much as possible. So water and natural landscape are very important parts of the strategy of the green nature-based solutions we are going to use, and we are implementing this in our projects. So just to wrap up, I want to identify the main challenges and the barriers that we're facing. Limited awareness, understanding of nature-based solutions among real estate developers and investors. Maybe higher initial cost for implementing nature-based solutions in real estate. So we have to have the proper impact analysis on the financial side to make sure that everybody understands that even if apparently it's more costly up front, when we reach the carbon tax environment, we will be in much better position and a much more financially sustainable position when that happens. It is sooner or later we are going to have that. So the point is always the challenge is a new thing in measuring how effective the nature-based solutions are when they meet this European Union taxonomy criteria. We still have some standards and some certification issues that is not fully implemented. Levels is very recent, it's not generalized yet. Levels is the European Union approach to the EU taxonomy that allow us to identify the steps that we need to do to make sure that our developments are conform with this criteria. But everything is very new. Not lots of people know how to deal with that. So it's the education challenge. And then you have the barriers. So this is becoming very complex regulatory environment. We are trying to create measures for lots of things that we are not used to measure. This is very difficult to have a full understanding of all the points on the compliance issues. but there is a way that we have to follow. So it's not easy to find technicians with the skills to really know what they are doing and make the right options. And especially we have to understand all this long-term, because the majority of the measures only make sense if you measure for a 50 years period, how you are going to measure and how you're going to monitor that. So this is the barriers that we see. As a policy or regulatory support, you have the European Union directives, and that's very clear. There are a very clear framework of legal obligations that is in place, that's been translated to national policies. In the Portugal case, is the National Strategy for Nature Conservation and Biodiversity 2030, and we have in our city Porto local incentives like the Porto Climate Pact, which is create incentives for property developers that implementing and nature-based solutions in building projects. So basically, this is the future trends that we are seeing. I think the increased adoption of nature-based solutions is going to happen anyway, because that's the only way to meet European Union taxonomy standards and achieve the sustainability goals that implies. These innovative solutions are clear, and we have to master better all the sides of it. But there is, I'm sure, also a growing demand for green buildings and certifications, driving this integration into the mainstream real estate projects. So conclusion, EU taxonomy provides a framework to ensure sustainability by defining criteria for nature-based solutions integration in real estate projects. The alignment with EU taxonomy enhances project credibility, attracts green investments, and contributes to global sustainability goals. And integrating nature-based solutions in real estate under EU taxonomy framework is critical for achieving environmental resilience and mitigating climate change impacts. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that it was an interesting subject for you.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Let's welcome Cristina de Melo Maia. Cristina, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning to all. My name is Cristina Maia. I come from Casais Group, based in Portugal, but present in 17 markets. What I aim today is to show you what we are doing towards a more sustainable construction and, of course, real estate promotion. For us, real estate is now, but we are working in construction for over 60 years. We started in Portugal. We are now present in 17 markets. We have one thing that makes us very proud, 98,000 training hours. We believe that people are the future of the transition in construction. We are almost 6,000 employees worldwide, and we have a turnover of 712 million euros, the majority of which made in Portugal, but a big percentage made abroad. We have 3 business areas: engineering and construction, trades and industry, and real estate and asset management, which allows us to have a very holistic vision of construction as we are present in all. So the transformation in construction in this small video that you are seeing right now is our holistic vision of it. We know that economy and society are changing, and migration and the industry, the construction industry appeal is not a big one. So we have to do something to attract talent and to make construction have less impact on the climate change and the environment impact. So we need new ways of building and new technologies and new ways of thinking. And to decrease the gap between what is the need and the capacity of the sector to do it. We can do that, but we need to be attractive to the people that live in buildings and spaces. So design takes a very big part of it, and we can do it by partnering and developing ourselves with others and seeing what aesthetics and what design is doing to break prejudice and to foster the integration of people. So this is something that we treasure and that we are doing right now in new systems of building that allow creativity and that allows us to retain talent. What we aspire is to create an ecosystem between design and product design so that we can build faster, more comfortable and cleaner buildings. We are integrators, we industrialized, we productized, and of course, we collaborate a lot to educate the sector towards a more sustainable way of building. For that, we invest a lot in our people. So for us, this is a cultural revolution and something that we all in construction should do. For that, sustainability for us is closely related to industrialization. And we have three strategic key points: digitalization, industrialization, and of course, sustainability that comes combined with a series of factors, not only the environmental, but of course, the social and governance. For us, sustainability is a big part of our business and of our way of working. We want to reduce, of course, the carbon footprint, the decarbonizate, but with a big focus on circular economy, but with focus also in social vectors, in the well-being of people using the buildings. It's also very important, with an eye in green finance and certifications, and of course with our ESG compromise. We have our ESG report available online for you to check it if you want. Digitalization is a big part of this movement. We first do in a collaborative approach with our partners the digital product so that we can then know exactly what the building is made and how the pieces will fit when we go to the construction on site. From the digital building, we part it in several products. We go into productization and we do smaller parts, smaller Lego pieces if you want, that will fit all together according to the big drawing of the building. But first they go to a plant to be produced. What we have is kind of a box, a building turned into parts that will assemble together into the main product that we have, that are buildings. With this, one of the big two pluses that we have of course have a more controlled quality. We have better environment to work, and we have a bigger inclusion of people that otherwise wouldn't work in construction. So we retain talent and we attract talent that was actually not the first that came into our top of mind. We have a lot of women and a lot of elderly people working with us on the plants that teach what they know to people that are starting, and that allows us to have very high product quality for the components we do. We do that in several business areas. We are shareholders and the Portuguese partner for CircularB Buildings. We have a plant in Portugal that is actually growing, that does partitions, interior partitions with all the MEP specialities, and we have Blue Map that does all the air conditioning, water networks. This is a fire network that was built off-site and that is going into a building. As you can see, you have here what the digital becomes in real life in a real construction site. We have electricals also. Our interior partitions are not just decorative partitions. They are functional partitions, and they have all the electrics and plumbing and the technical parts needed. And what we do is, with our BIM, try to have a part of a building, in this case a bathroom, divided into small parts that can be produced on site, on a plant, not on site, the construction site. And for that, of course, as we are transporting parts, we need to have a very, very accurate logistics. We do a 4D planning that is done actually by the minute, and that allows us to make sure that the trucks enter on the construction site in the exact moment as they have to unload to build what you are seeing right now. This is an actual planning of the building you will see after. This is real life, was the first hybrid building of the Iberian Peninsula, made in Guimarães. And this is the real life time lapse of what we are doing. It's an hotel and residential building, two buildings, the first part of the MIT that I will show you further on. Of course, with this digital, one of the things that is important when we do buildings is to maintain buildings and to make sure they endure as much as possible in its right capacity. So the digital twin is something that allows us to then have a more accurate, more energy saving, water saving, resource saving management of the buildings. That's why, not only for construction, but for building management, this is really, really important. We do all this, but Lego parts are not, our Lego parts, our products are not a block, they don't block creativity. Like Lego, they allow us to be creative and to join the pieces in all sorts of ways. We also make sure that the materials we use are sustainable. CRE allows us to use 1/3 of the concrete usually used in construction, and we use a lot of bio-based materials like, of course, engineered wood and others. Connectivity with the digital twin, with domotics, with everything that we can do to measure what is going on in the buildings, around the buildings, so that we can live better on the buildings. Well living is a big part of sustainability. We need buildings that that evolve according to our needs and that make us feel comfortable in living. Of course, we don't have a lot of space, so we need to teach people how to live in small spaces. We have a partnership with IKEA Portugal, and we made a very small apartment, a representative of the apartments that we have in Meet, that you will know just in a second. And in 36 square meters, you can live with a couple and a kid if you are able to decorate and to have the interior made. Meet is our real estate very own promotion. It's in Guimarães, near Braga. It's Minho Innovation and Technology Hub, where we want to show that it's possible to have all these technologies combined together for more sustainable living spaces, where technology, work, and living all take parts of the life of the ones that are there. Our scope is to make a strong partnership with Minho's University and all the technology companies around, and make sure that everything combined together allows us to have a residential place where you can also do business and do research without commuting a lot. So this is University of Minho and MIT, which is now in the first stage of construction. As you can see, the area is quite big, and it's a 15-minute walk city. We believe that doing functional small cities within the cities allows us to commute less and to have better life quality. So it's sustainable in every way. We are now in the first stage. We will be all these buildings that you see here in color. What we have now is the first part, which is a B&B hotel and first corporate residences and a co-living space, a co-working space down there. So 44 studios, 95 bedrooms in an hotel and a co-living space. As you can see, interior, this is a 40 square meter building that is apartment that is completely furnished so that you can have all the comfort needed to live and to work without being stressed in your daily life, which is a big part of our holistic vision for construction. We have a partnership with Situ that has this co-working space. So actually in 5 minutes, you can be in your home, at a restaurant, or even working without getting into your car. This is our vision of the future of sustainability. We believe in it and we promote it in our own buildings, and we feel that that's the way that construction should follow, so that we all can live better in the building space and of course build better, well built for well living. And now to you, Jordi, my part is done. I hope for your questions in the Q&A time.
Obrigado, Cristina. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, for your lovely presentation. And yes, Cristina said we can have some time after this presentation for a small Q&A session. But now, Dominic Campanella, welcome. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. So here we go. Yes, so thanks a lot. Perfect. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I want to talk a bit about Concula. Concula is the leading ecosystem for circular construction in Germany. And here I want to explain a bit like what we are doing, and that could be a case also for other countries to adapt. So, I mean, as already said before, the construction sector is the largest polluter in the world. So 6% of waste, 40% of beach emissions, and most of it is due to the production of construction materials, as we follow this so-called take, make, waste model. Perfect. So we produce materials, we put them into buildings, and after just a couple of years, we're taking this really, really good materials. And what are we doing with them? We mostly landfill these materials, although they're in a really, really good state and could be reused. So right now, we only reuse around 1% of material. And that's, of course, not a lot. And the aim of the European Union is to have 50% of it until 2030. So there's a long way to go. And what you can say is climate change is decided on the construction side. So we have to have a complete different look at materials in existing buildings. So we have to look at them as a source for new products and new buildings. And so we have to look at them as urban mines. And we from Concula, we started this journey already 12 years ago. So the idea was, from one of our co-founders, that on the one side there are materials left from deconstruction, on the other side there are new construction projects where these materials are needed, so let's connect them and buy a marketplace. And this is where the idea of Restado was born. We built that to the largest marketplace for reclaimed materials in Europe. However, what we saw is that especially private people are using that, and that's of course great. But if you really look like which projects have the biggest impact in terms of CO2, it's the large projects, it's the professional actors, and they were not on board. They didn't use the marketplace. So what we did was we tried to understand like why are they not using it, and then we understood like they're not using it because they have different challenges. They want to have a specific amount of materials at a specific location at a specific time with the warranty, and this is something a marketplace cannot fulfill. So that's why we had to go also in the processes before and after such a matching to really ensure the quality, the amount, and so on. And this is where the idea of Concula was created more than 4 years ago, where we say we digitize, analyze, and optimize. So we are around 65 people in 6 offices, and we work with the largest building owners, public and private, in Germany. So I think a big, what's very important is to not do that alone, but to have like a good network of companies working together. This is why we have this circularity partner program where we work with the largest manufacturers, project developers, building construction companies and architect office and so on. So they're all working together on this complete vision. And so the big challenge or the big one step is to digitize materials, because right now we just don't know what's in building. For new buildings, we can do that quite easily with a BIM model, which can upload in our platform. But the challenge only lies that only in Germany, 20,000 buildings are getting reconstructed every year. And right now, no one looks at these buildings and how these materials can be basically reused. And so we have to digitize these materials. And if we know what's in a building, we can analyze like how much embodied carbon is in a building and how can we bring these materials back into the circle. And if we know that, we can really do that. So we can take out materials, put them into other buildings or back to the manufacturers to really close the material loop. Now for the digitization, as said, for like a new building, we can just create material passports. That's quite easy and possible on our platform, but for existing buildings, we also developed the software with which you can go through the building. So it's very easy, 10,000 square meters, takes just 2 days. And you can also use technologies such as 3D scans, where like we can do like a 3D scan of the room, and then with computer vision algorithm also can already tell what's inside. This methodology was already applied to more than 400 buildings in Germany, and this is why we created then also a standard for that. It's called DIN Spec 91484, where we really standardize this procedure on recording building materials to evaluate what to do with these materials after their life in a high value, of course. And that is right now adopted in all over Germany and should be the standard of so-called pre-demolition audits. So now we were able to know what's in a building. The next step would be to analyze what does that mean. So, and there's different methods for that. Of course, an LCA is a life cycle assessment to know how much is the embodied carbon in the building. And so if you have an existing building, you know like how much CO2 can you save, but also how much for a new building, you can also see like, do you fulfill the requirements of this new buildings? And if not, you can optimize, for example, by using reclaimed materials. We also can calculate the circularity performance index. So it's an index which is telling you on a component, but also a building level, how circular is basically your material, but then also your whole building. And it has 5 factors. First, the origin, so it's a secondary or primary material. Then how easy is it deconstructible, how easy it's separable, how easy it is reusable, and how easy it's recyclable. So for example, for a window which is 10 years old, which has so we can say its origin is like it's new material, but it might be quite easy to deconstruct, and it might quite easy to separate, but it might be not very easy to reuse because it's so old that it cannot fulfill the energy requirements anymore, but it has a recyclability which could be based on the window and the material be quite high. And taking all this together, you get a score between 0 and 100. And the idea here is really that you are able to to decide, like especially for new buildings, like how circular is the new building, and in the future that there's regulations saying you have to have at least this amount of circularity in your building. Another aspect, which is not on the slides, but which is very important for project developers, of course, the financial valuation. So we can tell for a new building, but also for the existing building, how much money is actually in that building in terms of materials, if you bring that back into life. So basically, if there's a deconstruction, you have to pay for the landfilling of the materials. If you now sell the materials, you don't have to pay for the landfilling anymore, and you get money for selling the materials. So there is a so-called material residual value, which we can calculate, and also for a new building, which we can put then on the balance sheet. Now, having all that measures, you can optimize. So meaning that basically you can, for example, for a new building, install our software in the architectural planning software. And with that, you are able to measure like how much is the LCA, how much is the circularity, and you can not only measure that, but you can click on optimize, and then we do some recommendations. For example, use a reclaim window instead of a new window, and so on. And with that, of course, improve improve circularity of the building. But you can also, if there's a deconstruction, sell these materials, and we also doing that. So we did more than 450 buildings already. These are all kind of buildings, from an office building to residential building, swimming pool. Now for the European Championship, the stadiums which were refurbished, like we were able to take a lot of materials going out into the new buildings and so on. And so you can find it all on our shop, but we work a lot with the architecture office, project developer, building owners to get these materials. A challenge they have sometimes is there's a deconstruction on the one side, and then it's 3 months or more that you need the materials. So what to do in between? And for that, we created the concept of so-called urban mining hubs, where it's basically a storage facility where you can refurbish the materials, you can store the materials, and so on. We started a year ago the first urban mining hub in Berlin, which is very successful, and we will roll out this concept now in every large city in Germany. Another challenge is insurance. So companies came to us that, like, I want to reuse these materials. However, do I get the same warranty for that? And the answer is yes, because by law in Germany, and I think it's very similar in other countries, you anyway have to give a warranty. However, the big challenge is, of course, that companies like Concol are not existing anymore, maybe in a couple of years. That is the same risk for like a manufacturer. However, the perceived risk, and I think this is very interesting, is much higher for reclaimed materials than new materials. Although it's not true. So there's a higher perceived risk also in terms of warranty, but legally, looked at it legally, there is no real difference in terms of the risk. However, because such companies came to us, we worked together with the largest insurance company in Germany, and so we created an insurance only for reclaimed construction materials. And with that, you can now insure materials and can get them back into a second life with the insurance. And so meaning, like, if you have any problem with the material, you can go to this insurance company, which already exists for 150 years, is the largest insurance company in Germany, and will exist also for the next 150 years. Meaning now you get material which is reclaimed, but has a better insurance than a new material, which is actually great, because basically we can be better, so we can be cheaper. So normally these materials are around 20 to 30% cheaper than new materials. They are faster, so 1/3 of the production time, because it's already produced, and you get a better warranty on that. So actually we are right now not going in this direction of creating a parity with new materials, but having materials which are reclaimed are even better than new materials. With that, we sold more than 10 million materials. And I want to give you some examples on that. 2 projects I did bring with me. One project is this really great building in Düsseldorf. It's the former Vodafone headquarters. It will be not teared down, but the interior will be changed, because it's now owned by the state, and there will be administrative office going in. So what we did was we went into this building with our software, We digitized the whole building in just 2 days, 20,000 square meters. And then we found a lot of interesting materials like kitchen, partition walls, raised floors, flooring, whatever, everything, lighting, whatever is in such a building. And then we went to the manufacturers and I told them, you are saying always when you sell new materials that these are the best materials with the highest durability. So if you say it's the best materials, then you will be also able to sell to take these materials back. Are you? And the answer was yes. So the manufacturers really created the take-back system, and with them we were already able also to get like conformity agreements and so on. And with that we also sold then these materials on our platform to our clients and so on. And then we're able to really get these materials back. Here you can see, for example, how the partition walls were deconstructed, refurbished, and put into another building. That was done with 100 of meters of partition walls. You can see the kitchen, which went out. You can see also a door and so on. So a result was that we were able to get 70% of the materials back into a second life compared to normally 1%. We saved around 35% of the CO2, which was in the building. We made 160,000 euro revenue and saved 600,000 euro of landfilling costs. So basically, if you put that all together, it's around €1 million taxpayer money which is saved, which is really great. So meaning like circular construction is not more expensive. You can make money with that. I think this is something which can be really interesting for the real estate sector, because in the end it's about money. And so if you can combine circular construction with so financial or like economical and ecological benefit, I think this is really great. A second and last example, no, I did bring 2 more examples now. So the third example, the second example is the school in Aachen. And so there were 10,000 bricks. What we did here was we went to the school, we took out the bricks, they were cut, and then they were put on the new building, which were residential buildings, and with that saving also, of course, a lot of CO2 and around 20% of the cost. And another one where you can see that can also be already in the competition of projects is the Karstadt Hermannplatz. So it's the big department store. And so here the idea was to refurbish the whole building. What we did was here then to go in, we digitized all the materials, and then a competition for architects was created, where they basically had access to all these materials, and then their new or like their refurbishment of the building had to be done with the materials who are already in the building. So, and because we gave them all the information about the materials, they were able to create like this draft for the competition, and in the end the architect office who used most of the materials won, which is the Danish architecture office. And these are just 3 of the 400 projects we did in the last 4 years, and we are going step by step and trying to always go one step further to really make circular construction being construction. So we don't want that construction, there's construction and there's circular construction, but circular construction is by default circular construction. And that's why we're here from Concula, but we also believe that we can only do this together. This is why also our motto is together we are circular. And with that, thank you a lot.
Thank you very much, Dominique. I will ask you to stay here and all our speakers to come back so we can have a little time for the Q&A. So Christina, Francisco, if you're there, you can join us as well. Let's have, we have some time for some questions. So Dominique, we can start with you if you want. First question says, how do you handle the warranty for reclaimed materials?
Yeah, we have an insurance for that. So as said, like basically, if you buy a material from us, you can get an insurance by this large insurance company, largest in Germany. And if there's any claim, it's like there's a process for that. And yeah, so it's quite normal, like as for everything. Yeah. So.
Great. There's another question that we have here for you, Dominic. That is, would ensuring reclaimed materials contribute to significant price increase in the total cost, making them close to new materials in terms of costs?
Yeah. So really interesting question. It depends on the material, but so as said, like we can normally offer the materials 20% lower the price than new material. So the premium for the insurance, depending on the material, is 10 to 15%. So we still are cheaper, but now we have to think about that. So we get the material faster, we get the material at the same quality, we get the material with around 9% less CO2, we get a material with a better insurance coverage than a new material. We still get it cheaper. So is the question really now, should we actually have these materials cheaper because it has much more advantages than a new material? So I think this is the way we have to think, especially in terms of the regulation, where we see CO2 limits in a lot of countries. Basically, this is the only possibility to build with that material. So we can offer it cheaper, but actually it's a premium material with that. So should we make it even more expensive because you can do like with that, you can achieve your goals. Of course, we should building something should be cheap, but just thinking in a way, because right now we perceive reclaimed materials as something cheaper in terms of quality, but this is not the case, because what we're doing right now is we create a much more qualitative, much better product than a new product, and I think that should be then also reflected in the price.
Thank you for this insight, Dominic, and I know you have to leave a little early, so thank you very much for your contribution. If you want, we can continue with Cristina Francisco. Thank you very much, Dominic, for being here with us today. We may continue. I'd like to remind you, the audience, that if you have any question for Francisco or Cristina, we have some minutes left, so feel free to add them in the question box. Francisco, we have here a question for you that says, what emerging NBS technologies or practices do you see becoming mainstream in the next decade?
Okay. I think the generalization of CLT and CLT related products, it's already started. CLT structures and CLT buildings in some parts of Europe are not nothing new. They are established construction methods. What happens is going to be generalized. Of course, there are some constraints on the supply, on the factories that can produce engineering timber products, but it's going to grow. The market is growing, so that's the best guarantee that the supply will follow. So CLT-based products, completely independent or mixed with other engineering systems like Casais is doing, is going to be generalized much faster than normal people in real estate development think. The pressure will come much stronger when EU taxonomy will force real estate developers to increase the sustainable side of the new constructions, and especially when the restrictions to banking financing, to traditional methods will start to imply, which will be no later than 2030, but probably sooner. So CLT is the main thing. The problem is CLT is very good for some parts of the building, but there are lots of other parts of the buildings that are non-structural. They still use materials that are not very sustainable. And for that, all the other pieces that I show of bio-based materials for isolation, for all sorts of complement to the structural side of the buildings will be generalized. And here I think the supply will be very different according to the suppliers, local suppliers, and the local traditions. And there are places already where straw has never been stopped being used, so it's easier for those places to recover the use of straw. Hemp is being used already as a competitive cost material in some parts of Portugal, and I'm sure in France it's much more stronger than in Portugal, hemp. And mycelium is one of the new techniques. There are already big companies in the United States doing that. In Europe, the mycelium products we know are still a little bit on the decoration side. So if you want to show some materials, they are bio-based, but not very accessible. Mycelium, you already have several producers in Europe that produce mycelium products, specifically floor covering and things like that. But I'm sure that this trend is going to enlarge and to gain weight because of the need. And the need will be very clear if when we do, and we are doing that already in our projects for internal uses yet, but to calculate the carbon footprint of any new building, and you understand the numbers you reach doing traditional construction, and the real need to lower that numbers to make sure that the next generation of buildings can have bank financing, for instance, then I think that will be the main driver for this. I have to share something which is not very obvious, but is real. The people that I find more worried about using these decarbonization materials in real estate are the finance sector, which is very unlikely, but they are the ones who have already fully understand the full cycle of the thing. You can easily find an investment manager more aware about all these issues than, believe it or not, some project people. They don't think this is something that they have to embrace very fast. So I think the generalization of these materials will come by necessity and not necessarily we try to think that we are doing for the right reason, which is why we believe this, like Casais. But believe it or not, the other people will have to go that way anyway. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Francisco. We have here a question for Cristina. It says, how can the integration of spaces in the Minho Innovation and Technology Hub project in Guimarães serve as a model for other cities looking to adopt sustainable urban development practices? And what are the main challenges that other cities might face when attempting to do this?
Well, it's a big question. Of course, when we integrate all of the facilities that we have in MIT, which is commercial areas, investigation research areas, and work areas and living areas, we have this holistic approach to urban development, encouraging, of course, the synergy between different sectors and forging a more vibrant community that will be focused on having a better life quality in close proximity. This reduces, as I've said earlier, the extensive need of commuting, and of course, by that we lower the carbon emissions in the cities. Also, the strong partnership with the academic community around will make the real estate sector drive into a more sustainable innovation. So we are obliged to know what is going on and to put it in the development of the area. Replicate this model to other cities? Well, several challenges. The first of all is ensuring the collaboration between all the stakeholders, the local governments, the academic institutions, the private developers, so that the complex can be built and explored profitably for everyone and sustainably, of course. And the priorities, the alignment of priorities is also a must and something that should be a common goal, but sometimes is one of the most difficult things to do. Another thing, it's when a city supports the sustainable development such like this, we need regulatory changes to ensure that we have the compliance with the local planning, and this could be very daunting because we have old rules that not fully adjust to these new ways of building. this could be something. And of course, the financial incentives and the supportive policies of local entities and of the EU will be the big catalyst for this change. The green finance, as Francisco was saying, will be a reality soon. And even if you don't believe it, you will have to do it.
Okay, thank you, Cristina. We do have another question for Francisco. Cristina kind of answered it, but Francisco, if you want to provide more insight on how can stakeholders collaborate more effectively to promote sustainable real estate development?
Okay. The challenge to create sustainable real estate development, it's big because of the nature of the process. Real estate development is a very complex process that connects very different type of stakeholders. We have to assure that everybody understands the change we are embracing, and everybody cannot have the option to opt out of the process. Let me explain what that means. It's not difficult to explain to some banks what is sustainable development and why is the new metrics being important. But the other stuff is to understand that the valuers that those banks use to understand the same concept. And without those values to understand, the bank cannot finance you. You have problems with values. We have problems with insurance companies. You have problems with lots of, let's say, less active decision people on the developed process, but involved anyway, that don't have the same, let's say, updated knowledge that this big change requires. So you can find contractors, you can find architects, engineers, you can find people that understand exactly what we are doing, but that's not generalized. So you have to align a big number of different people with different skills, with different knowledge, to make sure that this goes positive until the end. And our experience is valuers, insurance companies, and some public entities don't understand what we are talking about when we are talking about this. So, as I said before, strangely it's easier and faster to explain to the money people what we are doing than the project teams or the authorities that are approving projects. I don't think Cristina will not disagree with me.
What do you think, Cristina?
Well, I agree with Francisco. Sometimes it's complicated to explain the value. The sector is very old-fashioned and very accommodated to things that we know how it works, and the change is always different. Of course, besides that, there's this sense that sustainability is a very expensive thing, and the materials are more expensive, and I don't think that the majority of the players, as Francisco was saying, not the financial players, but the others, understand that if you invest now, you will have the return later on all the savings that you can have in managing the building, in repairing the building, and all those sorts of things. Sustainability is not that expensive if you have a digital twin that will allow you to manage your buildings better and to understand how you can repair it preventively, and all those circular economy concepts are very important in this. The most difficult part is really the changing the mindset and giving the awareness to the sector and for the sustainable practices. Construction methods are not very modern, but they can be. But it can be very, very modern, very sustainable. we just have to look it on with different eyes and understand the future and the benefits that we will all get from it.
Great, thank you. Thank you, the both of you, for your insights. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I want to thank you for both the presentations and the great answers that you have provided to your Q&A. So it's time to wrap this thing up. I would like to apologize as well to all the assistants that we didn't have time to reply to their answers. There were many, but you can contact either us or the speakers themselves, and I'm sure they'll gladly help you. I would like to thank you once again, Francisco, Christina, and Dominique, for attending today's webinar. Just a reminder for all of you, the audience, that this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel and our portal, as well as the slides of today's presentations. And we'd like to invite you as well for next week's webinar on the 25th. We'll have one last webinar before our summer break, and then we will come back in September with more webinars. Some of those with our colleagues are CircularB. So be sure to register on our portal and follow us on our social media channels. You can share your own content and disseminate your own content there, and you're more than welcome to be there. So we wish you a very pleasant end of week and end of day, and thank you very much for attending. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.